Air Force One test flight. Air Force One test flight. Have you completed equipment checkout?
Roger, this is Air Force One. We are completing equipment checkout. We're working over a White House computer link system. We seem to have a small problem.
White House has just informed us of the President's new departure time. We prefer continuing checkout on ground.
Andrews approach, this is Air Force One, approved intersection. 2000 to 45.
Roger, Air Force One test flight. We have you on radar. You are cleared for approach 19er. Contact tower at outer marker on 118.2.
Andrews Tower, this is Air Force One. We're at the outer marker.
Roger, Air Force One. You're clear to land.
Roger, Andrews Tower. Clear to land.
Drive this morning, Major.
Beautiful, Sam. Just beautiful.
White House just sent it over.
I guess that means the trip is really on. Look, Sergeant, will you do me a favor, please? Set up the President's practice tee in the aft section. Last week, he nearly killed me with a backswing over Cleveland.
Sure do, Colonel. Where to tonight?
One guess.
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs it is.
Now take a deep breath. Let it out.
It's a bad time. It's the worst possible time.
Again.
There's tension in every embassy in Washington. The Foreign Relations Committee will demand information only you can...
Exhale.
Well, at least wait until the satellite photos are analyzed.
Inhale.
You'll be severely criticized in the press.
Exhale.
This is a lot bigger than Cuba, and they know it. And they also know that Kennedy wasn't off digging clams on Cape Cod during that crisis.
Okay.
Mr. President, I strongly advise.
Can I put on my shirt, Arthur?
You're not giving one of your seminars on power politics, George. The president is well aware of the seriousness of the Chinese situation.
Mr. President, in my view,
Your views are well known.
I am retained to give those views, Mr. Secretary. In your time, they may not have needed experts, but the results are obvious.
I believe my qualifications are in order.
Mr. President?
Everything functioning, Arthur? I think the trip to Palm Springs is a very good idea.
Hey, what do you say, Doug?
Had lunch?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, that all checks out. Thank you, Sergeant.
Okay.
What do we have for weather?
Routine, 49 headwinds, thunderstorm activity over Arizona.
How high?
41,000. I filed for Dahlgren 3.
Security bring up the war code yet?
Oh, they'll put aboard just before takeoff, like always, routine.
How's it coming, Judy? Am I all clear to get away?
Well, state protocol is very upset, sir. You were to receive the Nigerian president Monday.
The vice president can handle it. Madigan's very good with African statesmen. He tells them elephant jokes.
Senator Haynes is waiting on the blue line.
Thank you. George? Excuse me, gentlemen. My brother.
Hello, Bert.
Good morning, Mr. President. Ruth told me you called.
I'll need a first lady for a state dinner next week.
You mind if I borrow her?
I guess not. I wish you'd get married again. I'm getting tired of your nationalizing my wife.
I'll run on that next election. Find a nice girl for President Haynes.
Look, they told me you're planning on flying out to Palm Springs tonight. What for?
Arthur seems to think it's a good idea.
Oh. Jerry, with the Chinese situation the way it is, don't you think you're taking a hell of a chance? I mean, Palm Springs is a long way from the Pentagon War Room.
Why don't you come over this evening before the chopper leaves for Andrews?
No, I'm flying up to Maine tonight, and I've got this committee meeting on civil aviation.
Secretary of Defense.
The chopper leaves at 9 o'clock.
I've got Secretary Galpin on the phone.
Bert, I'll see you later. Yes, Harold? Is that all there is? Read it to me. Thank you very much.
Here's your crew.
Yeah, we won't have a man from air traffic control on board this time.
Passenger manifest.
A light load.
Ah, only 5. They'll be rattling around back there. Who's McCready?
Secret Service, new man. Fred Vecchio must be sick.
Eisenhower's heart attack, they covered up. All the FDR needed was a rest. Woodrow Wilson had a stroke and nobody knew it, Gunther.
Haynes is tired. 3 years in office and he's tired. I know just how he feels.
May I see your passage, please?
Gunther Damon and Mark Jones, International Press.
Mr. Damon, you only cleared as far as the press lounge.
And you, I assume, are cleared all the way to the WAF barracks.
You're going to be glad I went, believe me.
Why?
Because they're covering something.
They're always covering something up. Be grateful. If they weren't, we'd all be out of a job.
Gunther, they've been handing out those Milltown press releases for days now.
The country needs a tranquilizer. A trip like this is a good way to say, take it easy, I'm on a vacation, things aren't so bad.
No, he shouldn't be going. Not now. It doesn't make political sense. The Chinese thing is too hot.
I've been around long enough to know that a guy like you who tries to figure out guys like them usually winds up talking to themselves.
This is as far as I go.
You think I'm going to comment on that? You're crazy.
All right, sir. Shuttle bus for the press charter's leaving in 2 minutes.
I thought you were flying with him on Air Force One.
Well, so did I. Where's the press secretary?
Mr. Lowe is waiting at the helicopter pad for the president, sir.
That means no pre-flight briefing.
You're right. Strange.
Press charter, press charter. This is Ambrose Tower. You are gear up at 2155. Contact departure control.
Chopper's airborne from the White House.
Attention all aircraft. Andrews will be closed to all traffic until 2215. All aircraft hold pattern 3, Charlie 47.
Andrews Tower, this is Air Force One. Radio check on VHF. Roger.
Excuse me, sir. I've got the president's parachute.
The president's parachute?
That's a 780 report from the rigging foreman. It's all been checked out, sir.
You know where it goes?
Yes, sir. Under the bed.
Take him back and stow it.
Frank Lowy, Secret Service. There he is.
Think they'd be more careful. I mean, you could have taken a shot at him from here.
With Madigan as vice president, that's the best life insurance policy Jeremy Haynes ever bought.
Request clearance.
Clearance. Air Force One requests clearance to Farrell Air Force Base, California. Andrews Ground, Air Force One, ready to taxi.
Air Force One, you're clear to taxi to runway 19 left.
Roger, 19 left. D1030 and 2 green. Andrews Tower, Air Force One, ready?
Roger, Air Force One, you are clear to take off. Air Force One, you are airborne at 2202 confirmed.
Air Force One confirms 2202.
Ready for a handover, Leesburg. Air Force One, over to you.
Air Force One, this is Albuquerque Center. Squawk ident, please.
Albuquerque Center, this is Air Force One squawking. Albuquerque Center, have you an update on the Arizona weather front?
Roger. Our radar shows a squall line over Winslow, moving southeast at 60 knots.
Albuquerque Center, do you have a pilot's report?
Affirmative. The press charter reported they were in it at 41,000.
Did they report any turbulence?
Affirmative. Moderate to severe.
Understand, Albuquerque Center. We'll advise if we can divert. Air Force One out. I'm going to change course to 190. That should miss the worst of it.
Air Force One, ETD. This sector is now 2335 local. Advise all aircraft to clear downward 3 Albuquerque intersection. Repeat. Clear downward 3 Albuquerque intersection. Air Force One is climbing 410 and will level. Repeat. 410.
He's turned.
He's trying to dodge the weather.
Yeah, well, he'll catch it anyway, so why don't you call L.A. and tell him he'll be late?
Man, I wish he'd start smoking again. He's driving me crazy.
Los Angeles, this is Albuquerque Center. We'll be handing off Air Force One a little later than expected. He has some weather ahead of him, and we'll lose ground speed.
Okay, Albuquerque. Keep us posted.
Roger.
Albuquerque Center, this is Air Force One.
Air Force One, this is Albuquerque Center. Go ahead.
Our radar shows no path through that squall line. We'll climb above it if possible. Any traffic?
Negative, Air Force One. You are cleared to climb to flight level 430.
Roger, Albuquerque. Air Force One out.
He picked a lousy night to go to Palm Springs.
It's a local condition.
I thought Air Force One said he was going to climb.
He did.
Well, then what's he doing at 39,000?
Well, that can't be.
Carl.
Air Force One, this is Albuquerque Center.
Air Force One, we read you, Albuquerque Center.
Our radar shows you losing altitude.
What is it?
I don't know. He's losing altitude.
Air Force One, are you reading? Air Force One, are you reading?
Well, that's not possible. See if you can raise him on UHF.
Air Force One, we're changing to alternate frequency. 269.0. You read Air Force One.
Carl, I have a transponder Mayday, code 7700.
I can't raise him.
All right, get me the call sign on every civil carrier in our sector.
Yeah, what about military?
Right, go to military, too.
Air Force One, this is Albuquerque
Air
Center.
Defense Command, this is
You are
Albuquerque
still
Center. We have a
losing altitude.
transponder Mayday on
Air Force One. Are you reading?
No radio contact.
Do you
Negative
read?
on UHF.
Do you read, Air Force One? Do you read? Air Force One, acknowledge, acknowledge. Air Force One, Air Force One, acknowledge.
All right, what about the call signs?
He's at 37,000.
Is there anybody underneath him?
No.
Didn't you make contact yet?
No.
Then go through Washington. He's got a teleprinter on board. And give me one of those cigarettes.
He's lost another 2,000 feet. Look, 35,000 and still dropping.
Air Force One, we show you at a level of 350.
34,000.
Do you read me?
32,000.
Acknowledge
31,000.
immediately.
30,000.
Air Force One, acknowledge.
29,000.
Air Force One.
We're losing.
28,000.
This is Albuquerque Center.
He's fading.
Air Force
25,000.
One, we are losing radar
23,000.
contact. I repeat, we are losing radar contact.
21,000. 19,000.
Air Force One. Air Force
17,000.
One.
Air Force One.
15,000.
Air Force One.
13,000.
Yes.
This is the White House operator. Mrs. Madigan?
Yes, yes.
I'm very sorry to disturb you. I have a call for the Vice President from Mr. Oldenburg.
Huh?
I have a call for the Vice President from Mr. Oldenburg.
Oh, all right. All right. Kermit, wake up. Wake up.
All right.
It's, that professor from the White House.
Oldenburg?
Yeah.
Yes?
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Oldenburg for you, sir.
Put him on.
Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Vice President. We've got some bad news.
All right.
The FAA has just informed the White House that Air Force One is overdue.
What does that mean, overdue?
The president was supposed to land at Farrell Air Force Base 30 minutes ago. They've had no contact with the plane for the last hour. Radar lost it near Winslow, Arizona.
Lost it? How do you lose the president's airplane?
Air Force liaison informs me they've already begun a ground search and...
Well, come out with it, man. Is it crashed or not?
Air Force informs us that fuel exhaustion won't be until 6:05 a.m., so we won't know for sure until then.
Won't know if it's crashed?
If the plane is down, sir.
All right, I'll be over as soon as I can.
No, you better stay where you are, sir. I've already called Fred Toomey at
Secret Service to put contingency plans in operation.
He'll send additional agents to your house.
Well, are you sure that's necessary? So soon?
Well, sir, the president's plane is missing.
All right, then.
Excuse me, sir. I have Air Force liaison on the other line.
Well, keep me informed. Thoroughly informed.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice President, I want you to know I'm at your disposal. Officially
and personally, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Oldenburg.
Yes, sir.
I always thought that egghead hated my guts. Remember I tried to cut my throat at the convention? Called me the overripe lemon from Orange County.
Kermit. Do you realize what he just said?
Yes.
I know AP broke 2 minutes ahead of him. The odd man is 3-1, Paul. My people are ready to drop. Put this on the air. I didn't have to call. Most of them came in when they heard. Yeah, really. Move it. Dedication, I guess. It sure isn't what you pay them. No, I'm all right. A little tired, you know. Right. The old man was pleased. All his troops came in. How long has she been here?
Since about 4.
I didn't know you came in.
I have a story to file.
Oh, it can wait.
Please, I want to file it. The German ambassador asked a few of us to stay for brandy after the reception. That's when we heard.
Any reaction?
Here it is.
You've had a long night. Why don't... We don't know that he's dead. We don't know anything for sure.
There must be something I can do here.
All right, come on.
I saw him 2 nights ago. We had drinks.
Let me see that ground-to-wear transcript. This is the last conversation between the ground and Air Force One.
And here's where they started into that thunderstorm.
Those planes fly through storms all the time, usually when they're serving dinner.
Why weren't they more careful?
Editor. Yeah, he's right here. Jones.
Where are you?
Arizona. The Air Force set up a search command post at Luton.
Listen, if those pilots see anything out there, I don't care what it is. If it's 2 jackrabbits rubbing noses, I want to hear about it.
Yes, sir.
There must be a herd of reporters. How are they treating you?
Cautiously, they're letting 1 TV film unit and 1 correspondent cover the pool. Well, it turned out that I'm the senior wire service man, so they picked me. I'm glad I came.
Just remember who you're working for.
Now listen, Gunther, fill me in from your end. The rumor here is sabotage.
Nothing official, nothing confirmed. They won't even admit it's crashed. Just missing. Their biggest worry is panic.
That makes a squadron of U-10s from Ellington. Now, how many choppers from Williams?
45, sir.
I want them in from Lowry, too.
Yes, sir.
Give me that jet trainer squadron out of Kelly.
Yes, sir.
General Dunbar will talk with you now, sir.
I gotta go, Gunther. I'll call you.
What about this over here? Well, Danziger takes responsibility for 35 through 47 on the uniform grid.
Yes, sir.
Give him a liaison channel with air search. No, check that. Have him route his communications directly through ground comm.
General Dunbar.
Yes, what is it?
This is Mark Jones, IP. He's designated pool correspondent attached to you.
Yeah, sure. Glad to meet you, Jones.
General?
Just stay out of the way.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Can you tell us approximately where the plane went down?
We'll find it. Don't worry about that, Mr. Jones. If it went down, we'll find it.
I said if it went down?
Have you got Danziger?
No, sir. General Danziger, they say, is momentarily unavailable.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, he's in the...
Yeah. You got 3 choppers from 34B grid. The light better over there?
General, you said if the plane went down. Now, does that mean that you're discounting the possibility of a forced landing?
I didn't say that. Doug Henderson's a great pilot, highly qualified. Nothing is impossible.
Do you think he crashed?
Yes. Bodine.
Yes, sir.
If you don't get me Danziger in 30 seconds, I'm going to lay a Shrike missile in there and blow him right off the pot.
Yes, sir.
Listen, Colton, Isn't there a gadget that automatically starts sending as soon as there's a crash?
Yes, sir, a CLB. A crash locator beacon that's catapulted from the tail of the aircraft on impact.
Well, if there have been no signals.
No signals have been picked up.
Why not?
Well, if the impact damage was too severe, it's possible that...
It's also possible, very possible, that the airplane didn't crash. Like if it was dematerialized.
Sir?
Blown up in the air, disintegrated.
Well, that's possible, too, sir.
The Vice President has offered a daring and original thesis, General. Of course, he means that every possibility must be considered, no matter how fantastic. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, yes, you are. We got to keep our minds open, General.
Sir, Chief Justice Hickman's clerk reporting. They've located him in Chevy Chase. He's driving here immediately.
I didn't call for Hickman.
I did, sir. Well, the fact remains that if there is positive intelligence confirming the President's death, Chief Justice Hickman must administer the oath of office. Of course, the oath may be administered by a district judge, as in the Kennedy-Johnson takeover, but I took the liberty of sending for the Chief Justice as long as he is available.
I'm not ready to bury Jeremy Haynes yet. I appreciate your thinking, George.
Well, there is the parachute.
What parachute?
It's a last resort measure for the president to use if jumping is the only way to...
Dear God. The President of the United States could be wandering around somewhere in the middle of Arizona. He'd be lost out there for days. Weeks. Lost.
Is there any chance that Henderson could have brought the plane down in one piece?
No, if he did, we would have spotted it by now.
What about the parachute?
Well, this is pretty rough country, even for a trained jumper. But it's possible.
General, it's almost 12 hours since Air Force One went down. We've been isolated, but my Washington office tells me the capital's in chaos.
I know.
Well, I don't understand how the entire United States Air Force can't find the president's plane.
Unless Air Force One disintegrated, there's got to be a wreckage. And Jones, planes just don't disintegrate.
Wait a minute.
What?
There. Take us down.
This is SEXCOM 1. Stand by, ground control.
You know it's impossible for an aircraft that size just to disappear off the face of the earth.
What a miss. Market dropped 100 points in less than an hour.
The New York Stock Exchange has agreed to remain closed until we give the word.
What word? We don't know any more now than we did before the... You say he was flying through a thunderstorm?
It was more like a tornado.
Well, if it was that bad, he should have turned back.
Radar doesn't always measure the exact intensity of turbulence. You can't be sure until the flight recorder is salvaged. If then.
We'll have to bring the body back. The whole thing.
There are problems, Mr. Vice President. I mean about the body.
The plane impacted on a rock ledge, then apparently slid into a ravine. There are no access roads. We have to lift in heavy equipment by chopper.
Everything's in 1,000 pieces, everything.
Dear God. You wonder what he was thinking on the way down. Look, try to keep those details out of the press.
They're doing the best they can.
You can't have a dead hero in small pieces, General. It's rotten politics.
The pathology team is there now. We should have positive identification soon.
As soon as we do, we can arrange an orderly transition. In the meantime, I can brief you about the Chinese.
God, how he clobbered me in the West Virginia primary.
Mr. Jones. Myers, FAA, KFBI.
Yes, I know, Mr. Myers. I understand you recovered the flight recorder.
We have to fly it back to Washington. Now, if you'll excuse us, gentlemen.
Brought in another body.
Yes, that's the last one. We positively identified the other 8.
Frank Lowy was one of them. Well, for 10 years. Used to head the Washington Bureau for INA. How about the president?
It's the one you just saw. Identification now.
Men's shoes, size 9C, black. Elevated.
over here. Well, the face is badly burned. So are the hands. Can't even get a fingerprint.
Give me some light here. Upper left, first molar. Lower right, first and second molar. Lower left, first and second molars missing. The anterior shows root canal therapy. Upper right, central. Upper right, lateral. Upper right, second bicuspid missing.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Delta Charlie 30 approaching DC. Alpha leader over outer perimeter. Will hold pattern till you advise.
Son, get me Washington on the Red Fox 3
Yes,
line.
sir. General, you absolutely certain?
Patch me through ground comm on Red Fox 3, priority 1.
Fuselage section ready to lift. Please advise, ground com.
There were 9 people on Air Force One, and we recovered all 9 bodies. And none of them is a president.
This is Howard K. Smith. As tension continues to rise in Washington, speculation that Air Force One may have been sabotaged has met thus far with no comment from official sources. Military observers say the Strategic Air Command has been ordered to full war alert. Peking has announced that this move can be only viewed as aggression and has threatened to take what it calls appropriate counteraction. In what could be the most bizarre development yet, there is an unconfirmed report from the crash site that pathologists are unable to confirm identification of the president's body. The only word from the White House this evening came from Assistant Press Secretary Hollinger.
That doesn't mean the president didn't jump. It just means there was an extra person aboard, that's all. And I want to know, Toomey, how that could happen.
We've checked every security guard at Andrews who was assigned to Air Force One. The airplane was clean.
And somebody hitched a ride, an extra crew member. I did it myself when I was in the service.
I've worked with Colonel Henderson too long. He wouldn't let his mother aboard unless she was listed on the manifest.
Could have stopped somewhere.
No, sir. It was tracked on radar all the way.
We could have parachuted.
Sir, we've seen every jackrabbit in the search area.
It took civilians to find the airplane. You're not so thorough.
You'll have to make a statement soon.
I'm not telling this country we can't find the president's body. Not me, not on TV, not like some clown.
Of course not.
It's just that if the Chinese feel we're indecisive, they might take advantage.
Look, General, I don't need you to tell me about public reaction. That's my business.
There is another possibility that he never got on Air Force One.
He was seen. I saw him. I saw the pictures.
I agree, Mr. Vice President. That was Jeremy Haynes who boarded Air Force One.
The point is, the president is gone. If he were alive, surely he would come forward by now. It is time. I sincerely believe it is time for you, sir, to assume authority.
Someone has to take command.
Nobody asked you, General.
Mr. Vice President, I have no need, I'm sure, to remind you how close the general was to President Haynes.
No need. No need, George. It's a hard time for all of us. It's just so darn confusing. You can understand how reluctant I am to assume any kind of authority when we don't know if the man is dead or alive.
Kermit, if Jeremy was alive right now, I think we'd know it. And right now, as difficult as it is, I must brief you on the Chinese situation. You have to be ready to carry out his decisions for the good of the nation.
Decisions? He didn't tell me about any decisions.
Well, excuse me, sir, but there were occasions when President Haynes failed to take you into his confidence. You may remember Your speech attacking Senator Sharkey 2 days before the president appointed him as Secretary of State.
You fed me that speech.
Well, that only points up the president's unfortunate habit of sometimes not including his key people in matters of national importance.
Being left in the dark has concerned me many times. Not for personal reasons, you understand?
Of course not.
For the good of the nation.
Exactly.
I appreciate that, George. I appreciate it very much, but I still can't take over unless we're convinced.
Yes. General.
Colton? I see. Yes, thank you. He didn't jump.
How do you know?
They just found the parachute, sir. In the wreckage. Unopened.
Kermit, I'm sure you know you have the full support of Congress, the Joint Chiefs, and myself.
Yes, I know that.
We'll do all we can to help you carry on.
If, God forbid, China launched an attack right now, the whole fail-safe security setup would strangle without someone to authorize retaliation.
And that can only be the president.
Or the acting president.
Gentlemen, tell me about China.
Need a lift?
No thanks. I've got to stop by operations. I'll see you tomorrow at the Pentagon at 10.
Thanks for the ride.
Thanks for the company. Oh, and Jones. I'm glad you're a pro.
Flight? Yeah, fast. I've seen Washington unglued before, but these last 18 hours have really been hairy. Oldenburg called, then canceled 2 press conferences. Madigan's unreachable. Embassy Row is hysterical. And New York is howling every 10 minutes for an update. I guess I'm glad to see you back. Hey, you okay?
Yeah, it's a delayed reaction, I guess. I started feeling it on the way in.
I saw the pictures. You hold back anything that wasn't in the pool release?
Just the medical details.
pretty gory, Gunther. The pathologists are certain the teeth were wrong, and when they got him put together, they figured he was shorter than the president. I'll tell you about it later.
Do you realize if Haynes is dead, Kermit Madigan is the president of the United States? Kermit Madigan.
Has Madigan spoken to the Chinese?
Right now, you can't keep him isolated. Does he know whether the president's still alive? What's he doing now?
Who's with Madigan now?
Has he heard anything about the president? Does he expect to go to the White House?
What's Madigan trying to hide?
Gentlemen,
please.
Vice President make a statement. Parachute?
Come on, move
back.
Justice,
No one gets in.
Kermit!
Damn egghead quotes Kierkegaard. Who is Kierkegaard?
He's a philosopher.
I know that. What I mean is he quotes him in the middle of a position paper on Red China.
Kermit, Jeremy Haynes has been missing 1 full day. According to the Constitution.
Hester, please.
You are now the president, right now. You've got to make the decisions.
According to Oldenburg, the Chinese are ready to push the button any minute. Jeremy Haynes never told me a thing.
Well, then why don't you just take over publicly?
The man might still be alive. You can't just write him off.
Oh, for heaven's sake, what do you owe to him? He only picked you on the ticket because he owed Milt Krug a favor, and he thought that you could carry California.
I know.
Tell me, he's used you for all his hatchet jobs. But the minute one backfired, he repudiated you, huh? How about the Sharkey business?
All right. Let him alone. The man's probably dead.
Well, then why don't you claim your office?
Back off, Hester. Tough enough just sitting in a man's chair.
Yes. Oh, yes, put her on. It's Senator Bert Haynes' wife.
Hello, Ruth? Oh, that's all right. Well, no, they're putting my calls through the White House board now. Well, no, I don't. Well, actually, I wasn't there when he spoke to the president, but... Oh, find out. No, I'll take care of it. Well, you call me if you hear anything, and I'll be in touch with you.
What? What is it?
Bert Haynes left on a fishing trip to Maine last night. Ruth hasn't heard a word from him since.
Is that unusual?
She called the lodge and got the guide. He never arrived. Get me Mr. Toomey. I don't see how Bert couldn't have heard what happened even in Maine. Toomey? This is the vice president. I just got a call from Senator Haynes' wife. She said... Well, damn it, is there anything else you characters have neglected to tell me? Well, you call back when you do. Secret Service and the FBI have been looking for Bert Haynes ever since Air Force One went down. They can't find him.
Maybe I ought to see you home.
No. I want to know, Gunther. You know, when Kennedy was dead, he was dead. Johnson was president, no questions asked. But we've got questions. Haynes wasn't on board that flight. We've got a right and we've got a need to know where he is.
Maybe not. Maybe it's better not to know.
You don't believe that? Not for a minute. So we are on the brink of nuclear war, and they're hiding and evading and no commenting, and I want to know. I don't care if Haynes went crazy or was abducted or defected or ran off with somebody's wife. I want to know it.
That's some delayed reaction.
Yeah, I guess it is.
International press. No, I'm sorry, he's not in. Thank you. International press. One moment, please. International press. No, he's not. Yes, I will.
At least we can try to figure out
Thank
who
you
done
very
it.
much.
Who's got an axe to grind?
This is a wire service, not a detective agency.
Isn't it? Isn't that part of it?
All right, but we don't have the people.
One moment, please. New York calling, sir. It's Mr. Devarian. He doesn't sound happy.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Joanna.
Of course I'm running the pool coverage. But Jones was there. He'll have a point of view that... Why? Well, we have some kind of public service to perform. I will not cooperate. I don't care what political favors who owes who. You mean that? All right, then you run this bureau. Little quiet pressure from somewhere. Don't push. Just run the handouts. See, he was actually threatening me.
You don't know better after 23 years.
All right. Maybe I can believe in things, too.
I figured you might.
Maybe a couple of cynical snoops like us can come up with an answer at that.
The way he walks is the same.
I don't know about that raincoat.
Well, he's headed for California.
No, he's very careful about his wardrobe. He'd never wear that at night.
Got a big collar. Roll on down with the next close shot, Rod.
It's not sharp.
Mark?
I can't tell. It looks like him.
Pipe looks familiar.
Yes, I saw it in the wreckage. It's his.
Joanna, you know him personally.
Yes, it's him.
Let's assume for a moment that wasn't Haynes. You know, that could mean a conspiracy of some kind.
Madigan?
No, I can't think that big.
But Mrs. Madigan can.
Yes, and so can George Oldenburg. You know, he and the Joint Chiefs are for serving the Red Chinese with an ultimatum, even if it means war, which it would. With Haynes out of the way, they could con Madigan, or Mrs. Madigan.
Frank Lowy had his personal secretary and bodyguard on board that plane. Now, if the man with the pipe wasn't the president, they would have known. They'd never be involved in that kind of conspiracy.
They wouldn't have to be, Joanna. They're all dead.
Including the imposter. Maybe he was a double like that business with Montgomery in World War II.
Senator Haynes looks like his brother.
He's not as tall.
Elevator shoe. I had it right in my hand.
Oh, come on. Bert Haynes wouldn't be in a conspiracy.
So where is he right now?
Well, he's in Maine, fishing. Klein filed that story.
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe you've got a point. But we have to be very sure.
Better have somebody check National Airport, the passenger manifests.
I'll do it.
Think you can sleep now?
Yeah, as soon as I get my eyewitness on the wire.
Joanna, I'm sorry about mentioning that social connection.
That particular social connection got more publicity than it deserved, Gunther.
Joanna, I can't talk to you now. I can't tie up General Dunbar's phone. Well, you can't call me here. I'll have to get back to you.
Senator Haynes did not fly out of here. He was booked on a 9 o'clock flight to Bangor, but he's listed no show.
Well, what about the The Boston shuttle flights.
I checked. 5 p.m. to midnight. No Senator Haynes. I also checked air taxis and charters.
Well, maybe under another name.
Mark, he had a reservation under his own name.
Her husband is very suspicious.
The General will see you now, Mr. Jones.
I know I promised to see you this morning, Mr. Jones, but I'm afraid I'll have to cut it short.
About the 9th body on Air Force One, General. We had a report it was identified. It was Senator Bert Haynes.
Who told you that?
Usually well-informed source.
I see. And what makes you believe this usually well-informed source?
We checked him out. We have evidence that Senator Haynes didn't fly to Maine.
And your theory is that the senator took the president's place on Air Force One?
He put a pipe in his mouth, pull his hat down, elevator shoes. Yes, he could get away with it.
But then we'd be holding back something on the identification of the 9th body, wouldn't we?
Do you care to comment, General?
No, Jones. Now, you don't think I'm fool enough to affirm or deny a story that you made up yourself, now do you?
I thought it might be true.
Listen, Jones. Off the record.
All right.
We thought of that possibility, too.
Well, did you check it? Did you compare fingerprints, dental records with the senator?
We did. They didn't match.
I don't believe him.
Why should he lie?
Listen, you remember that backgrounder that Oldenburg did 2 weeks ago on the Chinese missile thing?
You still smell conspiracy, huh?
Well, try it out, Gunther. Now, it's no secret that Oldenburg's pushing for a showdown with the Chinese. The Joint Chiefs are hot for it. So, 10 days ago, Haynes appoints Freeman Sharkey Secretary of State. We all know where Sharkey stands. There goes Oldenburg's influence. No military power play.
So they stage a discreet little coup. It almost makes sense, but there are holes in it. Would Bert Haynes be in on it, his own brother?
I haven't spoken to my brother in 10 years.
Gunther Damon. He is? Yeah, I got it. We'll be there. Your theory is shot full of holes.
Why?
Bert Haynes is due at the National Airport in 1 hour.
Senator, where have you been? Senator, have you heard from the president? Senator, is it true that you have been hiding since the...
Senator, you know what happened to your brother?
Senator, are you satisfied with Vice President Madigan's Senator Haynes, did the FBI know where you were?
I would like to apologize to you, and especially to Vice President Madigan, for my absence during these critical hours. I have not been in Maine, which explains the FBI's difficulty in locating me. Friday evening, I received a telephone call from a friend of mine who has a place in St. Lawrence, on one of the islands, and he invited me to be his guest. We were to fly to his place in his private plane from Boston. So I took the shuttle to Boston. I really didn't have time to cancel my reservation to Bangor.
Senator, you said you took the shuttle to Boston?
That's right.
But the airline doesn't have any record of that.
Mr. Jones, if you'll allow me to finish, I was about to say that as a member of the Senate Civil Aviation Committee, I rarely fly under my own name. It avoids a certain amount of unnecessary attention.
Yes, but the Bangor reservation was in your name.
That's right. I have a new girl in my office. She made that particular reservation.
Senator, when did you first hear about Air Force One?
I guess that was about 3 hours ago. We had no telephone or radio. The Canadian Mounted Police informed us, and found us and informed us, and arranged for my return to Washington.
Senator Haynes, did your brother give any clue or warning of a planned disappearance?
He did not.
Well, could you elaborate?
There's nothing more to say about that.
Senator, do you believe the president is dead?
I really don't know. This whole thing is very... Look, I talked to Jerry, the president, last Friday evening, very briefly. But we really only spoke of well, mostly family matters. It was very brief. Then he said, "Goodbye, Bert." That's about it.
Senator, I find it very hard to believe that all you discussed was family matters that evening.
Mr. Jones, I don't really care what you find hard to believe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to excuse me. I'm very tired.
Senator. Just one more question.
More information about what happened last Friday night.
I believe him.
Oh, it's too bad, too convenient. He knows something he's not telling it.
Mark, look around. They believe him. I believe him. His wife believes him. Why do you...
Down there next to Senator Haynes, who's the closest man to the president?
Why?
Because if he is alive, if he arranged his own disappearance, he couldn't possibly have pulled it off by himself. He'd have to have help, right?
Mark, come on. You need a breath of fresh air.
Look, now who next to Bert Haynes would he be most likely to confide in?
Freeman Sharkey.
Right, and where has our new Secretary of State been since this started?
Well, he's been... Come to think of it, he hasn't made a statement. In fact, he's been downright unavailable.
Think we ought to find out why?
Hi, Mr. Jones.
Oh, Frank, Mr. Sharkey's driving around?
Well, that'd be Joseph. He's over there.
Great.
Oh, Mr. Jones.
Oh, Joseph.
What brings you down to our little motor pool?
Well, as a matter of fact, I came to talk to you.
Oh, you know better than that, Mr. Jones. When I'm driving this car, I got no ears. No ears at all.
No, I'm not fishing, Joseph. Actually, we're getting together some material on official government cars. They tell me the Secretary's car is the envy of the whole cabinet.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that.
They sure keep it in great shape.
Yes, sir.
Just great.
Yes, indeed.
Now, listen, Joseph, tell me, do you have any, special tricks of any kind? Hmm?
I'll tell you one trick, Mr. Jones. Pay no attention to those factory manuals. They tell you to lube the engine and change the oil every 6,000 miles. Me, I do it every 3,000.
Ah. Looks like it just came off the assembly line.
Yep. Well, matter of fact, I had a service the day the president's plane crashed.
And it only had 3,000 miles.
Well, let's see. Yep, 3,010. That was 2 days ago.
And now?
$3,368.
Where does Sharkey live?
Chevy Chase.
His car has gone almost 360 miles in 2 days. Home to office can't be more than 40 miles round trip. 2 days, 80 miles, 8360. That leaves us 280 unaccounted for miles.
Maybe the car's used for other things as well. It is a motor pool.
Not the Secretary's car.
A curtain of secrecy has been dropped by the White House on all facts concerning the fate of President Haynes. Congressional leaders are warning that without some immediate positive action by the executive branch, the country will plunge into civil chaos. With no direct statement from Vice President Madigan and the growing mystery surrounding the crash of Air Force One, wild, though unconfirmed, rumors are sweeping the country.
Jeremy Haynes could be alive. He could be hidden somewhere. Somewhere where Sharkey's been seeing him. Maybe even right here in Washington, Gunther.
If Haynes is alive, which I doubt, it's more than likely he left Washington. Maybe even left the country.
We could check that at Andrews.
Huh. They're not exactly going to issue press releases.
Yeah, but there's got to be some fallout. They'd have to have heavy security. Hey, is Phil Voskovic still FAA liaison out there?
As far as I know.
Well, maybe we could get him to tell us whether they closed down traffic for any other outgoing flight on that same night that Air Force One left for Palm Springs.
Where'll you be?
Watching Sharkey. He's due at the White House in about 45 minutes.
I'll send Joanna out to Andrews. She can probably get it out of Voskovic.
See you later, Gunther.
This is the site the way it looked 10 days ago. This was taken by the Agrippa 12 satellite at 0700 this morning.
I can't tell a thing from that.
Our analysis shows it's operational. MIRV warheads and protected by an ABM deployment as far south as Guangzhou.
Oh, come in, Secretary Sharkey.
Mr. Vice President.
Same as our setup, isn't it?
Yes, sir, of course, with a redundancy factor of 5.
Well, how did the Chinese build them? I mean, the industry, the economy.
They had the will.
That it, General?
Yes, sir.
Pretty scary, Freeman.
Yes, I've seen them, Mr. Vice President.
What do you think, Colton?
I'd rather not say, sir. At least not individually. The Joint Chiefs have submitted their estimate.
What do you think, Sharkey? What is it, George?
Programmed tactical response, Mr. Vice President.
Well, what do you think?
I'm not fooled by semantics.
What does that mean?
Why not call it what it is? Ultimatum guaranteed to start World War III.
A nuclear deterrent isn't worth much without credibility. The opponent has to believe that you have the will to use it. I mean, that's one of the primary applications of games theory.
I don't think this is a game or a doctoral dissertation.
I don't really want to stoop to personalities, Mr. Sharkey. I have great respect for your long years of service, so well-rooted in the past.
Mr. Madigan, I must tell you that President Haynes completely rejected programmed tactical response before he decided to fly to Palm Springs.
I don't believe there was any announcement of that. Were you aware of any such decision, Mr. Vice President?
No, he didn't tell me a thing.
General Colton?
No, sir.
He told me last Thursday.
But he isn't here now to confirm that or deny it.
Oldenburg, you can't make foreign policy. I'm Secretary of State.
The final responsibility isn't yours, Mr. Secretary, just as it isn't mine. It devolves on the acting president.
It's tantamount to a declaration of war. And you can't do that without consulting the Congress.
Really, Mr. Secretary, presidents have frequently taken action in their capacity as commander-in-chief without Congress.
Madigan, you can't be such a fool.
Mr. Sharkey, I'm willing to listen to any factual argument you can present. According to Mr. Oldenburg's timing, the ultimatum has got to be issued by noon tomorrow. Now, if I'm the one who has to make the decision, all right then. I made it.
I'm sorry, sir. I urge you to believe me. Haynes rejected that policy. Wait. Just a few days. Give me a chance.
Mr. Secretary, the simple fact is that the president isn't here to make the decision. Now, it would be different if you could produce him to confirm your theory. Can you?
Well, we can be sure of one thing. Freeman Sharkey doesn't like to be followed.
I'm not sure I'm the only one who was following him.
What do you mean by that?
Do you remember this afternoon we left the State Department garage? Scotch and water, please.
Same.
There was a blue sedan parked across the way with a couple of business suit types in it. I could swear that I saw that same car just after I lost Sharkey.
You're beginning to sound paranoid.
Listen, Gunther, supposing Oldenburg and the Pentagon are in on something. Supposing they've got Haynes on ice. Now, don't you think that Freeman Sharkey might be in trouble, too? After all, next to Bert Haynes, he is the closest man to the president.
You still smell conspiracy, huh?
Don't you?
Still incredible.
Mark, did you get anything today?
Yeah, headache. Well, I suppose it is possible that Haynes did arrange his own disappearance. Staged a phony flight to Palm Springs to get away by himself somewhere. Well, he wouldn't be the first president ever to pull a disappearing act. You remember there was a story about Grover Cleveland? He sneaked off on a yacht somewhere in Chesapeake Bay to have a secret operation. Supposed to be in Maine or something. Didn't want anybody to know. He didn't want to rattle public confidence.
Exactly. And that's where your theory falls apart.
Why?
Public confidence. Sure, Jeremy Haynes might have staged a phony trip to Palm Springs, but he never staged the crash of Air Force One. Once that happened, he had to step forward. He couldn't let the world believe he was dead, that Kermit Madigan was calling the shots. Not with the Chinese ready to press the button at any minute. You've seen what this country's been like for the last 24 hours. It's a madhouse. No president in his right mind would allow the country to think he was dead. It's idiotic. And Jeremy Haynes is, or was, no idiot.
You think he's dead?
Yes.
Well, I don't.
Okay. Where does that leave us?
For one thing, it leaves us 280 unaccounted for miles on Freeman Sharkey's car. Now, let's see. Haynes has been missing for 2 days. Figure 2 round trips of 140 miles, 70 miles each direction, north of the city. You follow this route north and a little west of where I lost Sharkey's car. There. Where does that put you?
Thurmont, Maryland.
Right. Catoctin Mountain Park, Camp David.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that Jeremy Haynes is at Camp David and Freeman Sharkey's been seeing him there.
Never. In the first place, if Haynes is alive, he's probably in no position to be choreographing the moves. And second, even if he were masterminding this nightmare, he'd never hole up at Camp David.
Why? Why not?
Jeremy Haynes hated that place. Remember, he had it closed down just after his inauguration.
I think it should be checked out.
It's a waste of your time and my money.
For your information, I am now on my own time. I'll call you if I find anything.
Charlie, are you sure he didn't come in last? I know, but the bar gets busy around. I tried the press club. Tell him to call in at... Okay. Thanks.
He's not in his apartment. The janitor let me in.
Nobody saw him?
No. Did you try the bar down?
Yeah. Damon.
Gunther, this is Joanna Spencer. Yes, at Andrews. They wouldn't let me see any of the outgoing flight logs.
Why not? Maybe you better check the hospitals. What?
But I did see the incoming flight logs.
Fine. And call the district police. What?
There were only 5 flights in during that period of time. An F-111, an AT-12 trainer, a C-130, that's the big cargo plane, and a 707.
I know. Joanna, none of those... A what?
A Boeing 707 inbound from Minnesota. Registration number 26000.
26000. Hold on. A 707 landed at Andrews. 26000. Isn't that the old Air Force One, the backup plane?
We could check it out soon enough.
I know it is. I lived on that plane for 3 weeks on the African trip last year.
Maybe Mark is right. Maybe he did fly somewhere else.
Yeah. Anywhere in the world. Listen, Joanna, I want you to find out when that plane took off.
Don't go back to the office. Just ask around.
Mechanics, anybody.
I don't have to. It's sitting right out in the field. I'm looking at it right now.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay. Thanks. Sitting on the runway. You know, if Mark's theory is right, it's possible the president never left the Washington area. Jones could be in it right now, out at Camp David. Come on.
What if Haynes is out there? What makes you think we'll get within 5 miles of the place? It'll be crawling with security.
My dear young friend, that's all the proof we need.
War Room reports green board. All Phase 1 installations on active alert. We go red board at 1200 hours.
Red board.
You have to activate the nuclear deterrence circuits, and the hotline is right by your, the president's desk.
I see.
The ultimatum will be transmitted to the Chinese embassy in Warsaw and will reach Peking in, roughly 43 minutes.
Maybe I ought to make some sort of public statement on TV or something.
Oh, I don't think so, sir. That would compromise security prematurely.
But
one must take necessary action before one is inhibited by random, unpredictable response, either from Congress or the general public. It's cleaner this way.
We should have seen something by now. I mean, not even one single state trooper. There should be a turnoff right up there. Yeah, there she is.
One lousy corporal.
Hi, can I help you all?
I've got the Damon International Press. We got a tip that something was cooking around here. Something to do with President Haynes.
President Haynes? Buddy, there's nobody up here but me and a couple of PFCs.
Seems pretty quiet. Have you been on duty long?
Just came on. Sir, this area is restricted. Have you got any credentials?
Got a White House pass.
You'll still have to do an about face. I'm sorry, sir, but those are my orders.
All right. When you first came on duty, did you notice any activity around here? Helicopters, limousines?
Been quiet as a graveyard. I'm sorry, sir, but...
All right. All right.
Well?
I think Jeremy Haynes is dead.
This is the problem that has faced every commander-in-chief. Decisions must be made by pragmatic men. Men who have the cold, analytical view, uncrippled by emotions, weakness, the humanist flaw. One must have the highest courage to think the unthinkable and the will to carry it through.
All right.
Shall I set up the hotline scrambler, sir? It is now 12 o'clock.
Don't do that, George. Hello, Kermit. Mr. President, There was no way for you to know, Kermit. But I don't understand. I thought For the past 2 days and nights, I've been at Camp David. Camp David? Where, with the help of Secretary Sharkey, I have just concluded a mutual defense pact with Premier Vitalikov of the Soviet Union. It boils down to our joining together in the face of the Chinese missile threat. I'm glad you're here, General. Sir? George. Your pipe is out. George. I let you mind the store. And you try to burn it down. You see, George, there is another way to stop Red China without nuclear war. Why wasn't I told? You should have been. If it hadn't been for the crash. We anticipated everything except that.
Mr. President, Kermit, I'm sorry for what happened yesterday. You could not be told. The Russian security people insisted that nobody except those actually participating know of the meeting. If the Chinese had found out that Putelnikov was in this country, they'd have wiped Moscow off the map.
When Air Force One went down, the Russians threw fits. They threatened to walk out if security was breached. We had a close one last night. Mark Jones, IP's White House man, got to us. We had to hold him till this morning. I guess we owe him something for that. The ninth body, the imposter, who was that? Fred Vecchio from the Secret Service. Doug Henderson, Frank Lowy, Judy Nance. Well, the idea was to use the Palm Springs trip as a blind while our old Air Force One flew the Russian premier here for the meeting at Camp David. It wouldn't have mattered except for the crash. You do seize your opportunities, don't you, George? This is the president. I'd like you to place a call for me to the next of kin of the following people. Colonel Douglas Henderson, Mr. Frank Lowy, Mrs. Judith Nance, Major Emmett Foster, Fred Vecchio, Chief Master Sergeant Ron Eldridge.
Jones. Hi. Now, I'm not out here to play games. You've been gone 18 hours without a call. You dragged me all the way out here. You onto something? What?
That is old Air Force One. You know that, Gunther?
I don't need you to tell me that. You went to phone it in 6 hours ago. You've been somewhere. Don't give me that canary swallowing look at me. Isn't that Putelnikov?
That's who it is. Now, if you'll get this on the wire, you'll beat AP and UPI by 30 minutes. A little gift from the White House.
pocket. Standing there with this in your pocket.
29 minutes, Gunther.